Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to be exploring a really controversial area,
Okay.
National Socialism and Neo-Nazism,
Uh-huh.
based on a couple articles we found pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think they're by the same author, right?
Yeah, these articles are by the same author,
Yeah, okay.
and they take a really unique approach.
Yeah, we do.
The author actually praises certain aspects of these ideologies while still acknowledging their really dark sides.
That's a tough line to walk, isn't it?
It is.
To try to find something positive to say about these ideologies.
You might be thinking, praise, seriously.
Yeah.
But trust me, this is about understanding the nuances and complexities.
Okay.
Not about endorsing any hateful beliefs.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
where do we even begin with this?
yeah, so let's unpack this.
Okay.
Starting with National Socialism.
Okay.
The author argues that it's not as simple as just left or right wing.
It's more like a hybrid, intensely focused on what he calls the well-being of the Aryan German nation.
Huh. Okay.
But here's the catch.
What's that?
The nation trumps the individual.
Every time.
Every single time.
Wow. So it's like, it's almost as if individual rights are completely subservient to this idea of the nation.
Absolutely.
You can see how that can lead to some dangerous consequences, right?
Absolutely.
Imagine a society where laws, the economy, even basic morality are all designed to serve this one overarching goal. That's essentially what the Nazis were aiming for.
That's what they were going for.
Yeah.
And the author claims that Hitler genuinely believed he was acting in the best interests of the German people.
Really?
Even if his methods were horrifying.
Yeah, I mean...
But then he throws in this curveball.
What's that?
He says that Hitler's attempt to revive so-called traditional German culture was completely off base.
So he wanted to bring back, like, the good old days.
Yeah.
But the author's saying it wasn't really the good old days.
It wasn't really based in reality.
It's fascinating because the author points out that Hitler completely ignored the massive influence of Christianity on German culture.
Yeah.
He wanted to go back to some mythical, pure German past.
Yeah.
But that past didn't really exist.
It didn't exist.
It's like trying to restore a building
Yeah.
without using its original blueprints.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Thanks.
So Hitler was basically trying to force a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the author argues that genuine tradition is about remembrance, about understanding the complexities of history.
Yeah.
Hitler, on the other hand, seems to have cherry-picked history to fit his own narrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a pretty common tactic.
It is. It is.
For a lot of ideologues, right?
Absolutely.
You pick and choose the bits that you like.
That support your narrative.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this twisted vision of National Socialism under Hitler with its warped sense of tradition and the nation always coming first.
Always.
Now, the author takes us to present day with his second article on neo-Nazism.
Okay.
And here, he draws a clear line in the sand.
Oh.
Neo-Nazism is a totally different animal.
A different animal, huh?
He argues that while National Socialism, at least in theory, had some kind of defined goals and beliefs, neo-Nazism is much more nebulous.
It's just kind of a...
Yeah, it's driven by hate, but it lacks a clear vision for the future.
I see.
It's interesting. The author compares Hitler's ambition for a greater German empire with the lack of any real objective for American neo-Nazis.
They just seem angry.
Yeah, they seem to thrive on anger and resentment.
Yeah.
But what are they actually trying to build?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is. It is.
And it's a question that the author really digs into.
Yeah.
He sees this lack of direction as a key difference between the two movements.
Okay.
National Socialism, however misguided, was about creation, about building something.
Yeah.
Neo-Nazism, at least in its modern form, seems to be primarily about destruction.
And that's where the author's critique of violence comes in.
Okay.
He's really disturbed by the embrace of violence and revolutionary ideology by certain neo-Nazi groups.
I see.
Particularly those like James Mason and Adam Waffen.
He calls them out by name.
He calls them out by name.
Wow, that's...
which I thought was pretty bold.
Yeah, it shows how seriously he takes this issue. Yeah. He argues that these groups have become obsessed with blaming others for their own problems.
Yeah, very much a victimhood mentality.
He even compares them to some leftist ideologies.
Interesting.
Which is a pretty provocative comparison.
It is.
I mean, he's saying that they're more similar than they might appear on the surface.
But it highlights his point that any ideology that's consumed by hate and the need to tear things down can't be truly right-wing, at least according to his definition.
So he's drawing a distinction.
He's trying to.
Between the, I guess, the theoretical right wing and the actual right wing as it exists?
As it's practiced, yeah.
Okay, I see.
So if violence and revolution are off the table, what's the alternative?
Yeah, what is the alternative?
That's where things get even more complicated.
Oh, boy.
The author introduces us to a figure he considers the only true successor to Hitler's movement.
Okay.
George Lincoln Rockwell.
George Lincoln Rockwell. All right.
It's about to get really interesting.
Right, I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Buckle up.
Rockwell is, he's a fascinating and complex figure, for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to adapt National Socialism for an American audience.
Yeah.
Which seems almost impossible, given its inherent incompatibility with American values.
Yeah, it's a mind-bending concept, right? A self-proclaimed Nazi who fought against Germany in World War II feels like a total contradiction.
It does.
Yeah.
But the author argues that Rockwell genuinely believed he could reconcile these seemingly opposed ideologies.
Okay, so how did he try to square that circle?
Yeah.
Because those two things seem fundamentally at odds with each other.
Right, so it's a bizarre mix of ideas.
Yeah.
Rockwell promoted the white man's burden concept, which basically argues for white superiority, but not necessarily for the destruction of other races.
Okay.
It's still incredibly racist.
Oh, absolutely.
But the author's trying to show us the subtle difference in Rockwell's approach compared to the outright hatred espoused by many neo-Nazis.
Okay, and then there's Rockwell's plan for African Americans, which is, well,
go on.
Unexpected, to say the least.
Yeah, so he proposed offering them an autonomous territory.
Within America.
Or helping them return to Africa with American investment as a form of reparation for slavery. It's a truly strange combination of white supremacist beliefs and a twisted interpretation of social justice.
It's almost as if he was trying to create a separate but equal society, which, as we know from history, is never truly equal.
Never truly equal, no. And it raises some really uncomfortable questions.
Well, what?
Could this approach have gained any traction if Rockwell had lived? Was he a more dangerous figure because he tried to make National Socialism palatable for Americans?
The author seems to think that Rockwell's assassination might have actually been a turning point for the movement.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He suggests that without Rockwell's leadership, the movement fractured and became even more extreme.
Oh, okay.
The more moderate facade crumbled, leaving behind the raw, unfiltered hatred we see in groups like Atomwaffen.
So in a way, Rockwell's death might have inadvertently pushed neo-Nazism further to the fringes.
That's what the author argues. It's a counterintuitive idea.
Yeah, it is.
But it makes a lot of sense.
I could see that, yeah.
Without a figurehead trying to bridge the gap between National Socialist ideology and American values, the movement lost its veneer of respectability and became more overtly hateful.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the core tenets of National Socialism, its warped sense of tradition, and how it differs from neo-Nazism.
Yeah.
Then there's this whole George Lincoln Rockwell thing, which throws another wrench into the mix.
What does it all mean? What's the key takeaway for us, the listeners? It's like the author's warning us about the dangers of ideology.
Yeah.
It's like a virus.
A virus, okay.
That can mutate and adapt.
I see what you mean.
To new environments.
He's urging us to be more than just aware of these ideologies.
Yeah.
We need to understand them, dissect them, and figure out how they appeal to people.
Yeah.
Even those who might seem like unlikely recruits.
Right.
Remember, National Socialism wasn't just embraced by fanatics. It was a mainstream movement that drew in everyday people.
And Rockwell, with his attempt to Americanize National Socialism, is a chilling example of how ideology can be repackaged. And presented in a way that makes it more palatable.
Palatable, yeah.
It's like putting a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling building.
Got it.
It might look better on the surface, but the foundation is still rotten.
Exactly. We can't be fooled by the packaging.
Nope.
We need to look beyond the symbols, the slogans, the rhetoric, and examine the core beliefs that drive these movements.
Why?
Why? Because those core beliefs, even when they're dressed up in different clothes, can still lead to dangerous consequences.
The author seems to be saying that ignoring these ideologies won't make them go away. In fact, it might make them even more dangerous.
Yeah.
Because they can fester and grow in the shadows.
Like ignoring a wound.
Oh.
It might seem easier to pretend it's not there.
Yeah.
But it could become infected.
Right.
And cause even more damage in the long run.
So we need to be vigilant.
Yeah.
We need to be informed.
And
we need to be willing to have these difficult conversations, even when they make us uncomfortable.
So what can we do?
Yeah, how do we protect ourselves and our communities from these dangerous ideologies?
I think education is key.
Okay.
We need to learn about these movements.
Yeah.
Their history, their tactics, their core beliefs. We also need to be aware of the subtle ways they can infiltrate our culture and our thinking.
Yeah.
Remember, Rockwell's greatest danger wasn't his overt Nazism.
Right.
It was his ability to blend those beliefs with seemingly American values.
What made him so insidious?
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be informed, to be critical thinkers, and to be willing to challenge these ideas whenever we encounter them.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah, me too.
We've explored the dark world of National Socialism and Neo-Nazism.
You went deep.
We went deep.
Yeah.
Examined the disturbing figure of George Lincoln Rockwell.
Right.
And grappled with the author's really thought-provoking argument.
Yeah, he makes you think.
Makes you think.
For sure.
We've seen how these ideologies can mutate, adapt, and disguise themselves to appeal to new audiences.
It's scary how they can do that.
It is. It is. Yeah. But most importantly, we've been reminded of the importance of education,
absolutely,
vigilance, and critical thinking in combating these dangerous beliefs.
Can't let your guard down.
You
got to stay informed.
It's a conversation that we need to continue having, both with ourselves and with others.
I agree.
So keep questioning.
Keep learning.
Keep learning.
And keep pushing back against hate in all its forms.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.